Hey guys, Eddie back with Couch Talk. Welcome back to the show. If it's your first time with us, please hit like, please hit subscribe below. It's the only way I'm going to break out into this industry, and I promise if you stick with me, I will earn your viewership 100%. Guys, today I heard a stat the other day that the average American household has roughly $400 that they can put hands on in the case of an emergency. And just thinking about that stat got me going, and I had to make this video because here's the thing. Across the hall, I have a roommate who probably is one of those who has 400 or less. And besides, by the way, guys, there could be plenty of people that have more than 400. So if the average is 400, that means there's plenty of people that have considerably less than 400. I guarantee you he's got, at any given point in time, $10, $20, $50 maybe that he can put his hands on. But I'm going to tell you something. It's not because he doesn't earn enough. And it is not because he couldn't save more. It is because he chooses not to. And I have noticed a very disturbing trait among Americans in general. And that is, they do not know how to sacrifice. They don't know how to put themselves in a situation where maybe they could buy something, but then they don't because they want to plan for their future. I have been blessed in my life. But I tell you, when I say I've been blessed, I don't mean that I have stumbled on these magical opportunities that other people haven't stumbled on. No, what I mean is that I've had plenty of opportunities to save that I took advantage of. And I see hundreds and thousands of people not do that. Some of you may or may not know that I used to be a financial consultant. As a matter of fact, you can still find some of my financial consulting videos on this channel. I left them up, and for good reason, because they're still good videos. They're still viable, still relevant videos that people can gain information from. I'm going to tell you something. Out of the 300 some odd households, people, families, individuals, friends, mostly friends and family of mine, but a couple of a couple of more distant relatives, some friends of mine, and one or two people who are, just kind of throwing me a bone. Out of all those households, not a single one out of 300 plus households, not one didn't have a glaring error in spending. Not and I'm not talking about like just a little bit here and there. I'm talking about a glare, like immediately once they showed me what they were making and what they were spending money on, I was like, oh, you need to stop being an alcoholic. And I'm saying that, please understand, I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to be harsh. But you got to understand that anybody out there who's got driving a luxury vehicle around, anybody out there who's got a smoking problem, a drinking problem. Guys, I have a vice. I probably put down 3 Red Bulls a day. Easy, 3 Red Bulls a day. And I know that's not good for me, but guess what? I'm not one of those guys with only $400 in their bank account. So I can afford it. But the truth of the matter is there are things in life that sometimes we just shouldn't be spending money on. And there are plenty of things in life, and you know what? The same goes for government. And this is what really drives me crazy. The government routinely spends more than they make. Routinely. That's just like standard operating procedure for them. And it drives me crazy because I could balance the budget in moments. They wouldn't like how I would do it, but I could do it. It would take a day. I'd be like, all right, this program's gone, this program's gone, this program's gone, this program's gone. What the heck? This program is trash. This and this and this need to get dropped down to 15% of what we're spending it on. Guys, we can do it. The government could do it. But guess what? Again, they don't want to make sacrifices. Think about all the great things that the government does. And just think about, I'm sorry, some of that stuff has to go. Some of that stuff we can't afford. Would I love to go out and buy a Corvette tomorrow? Sure. But I can't afford it, so I don't do it. Would I you know what I'd really love? I'd love a Aston Martin GAMLV Volante Vision. It's a beautiful flying car. That's my dream luxury purchase. But I can't afford it, so I don't do it. And the government drives me nuts. Let's think about some of the things that they have spent money on in the past year. Well, I think we spend, what, about $50 billion a year in foreign aid? $50 billion, that's a lot of money. Now, on a normal day, where everything is going great, think about your own personal finance life. Everything's going great. Your friend comes up to you and says, hey man, loan me $5. No problem, right? Because everything is going fine. But guess what? This is not one of those days for America. Inflation is is through the roof. Our economy is in a toilet. We are not having a great day. So that foreign aid stuff's got to go. I'm sorry. It's got to. We got to take care of number one. And I think we've gotten away from that too. I don't understand why it has become more important to take care of every other country on earth except for America. We're America. We need to take care of it. If we don't take care of America, nobody will. So America's got to take precedence when it comes to financial policy. When it comes to fiscal policy, we have to take precedence. $400 billion in the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, how much money that's going to generate is still to be seen, because part of it is going directly to the IRS, who they hope to use to audit, they say, wealthy taxpayers, people over the $500,000 mark, so that they can get more revenue. Now, I suspect that is not what is going to happen. I suspect those that are over the $500,000 mark all have accountants that are trained to use the loopholes in tax law to subvert having to pay taxes, and that once audited, they're basically just going to run into a brick wall. That's just what I suspect. And I think that what's going to happen is, because they don't get any money there, they're going to start looking for it elsewhere. They're going to start looking for it in the small businesses. They're going to start looking for it in the people that do not make $500,000. That is what I believe. Boy, I hope it is not the truth. But guys, how long has it been that tax law has needed to be revamped? It's been like that forever. There are so many different people who are making millions and millions of dollars and are barely paying a penny of taxes, and I do not understand why. But hiring a bunch of auditors isn't going to change it. It's not. We need to fix the tax law. Let's talk about the big one. The big one where government hammered us this past couple of years, and that is with the stimulus checks, with the COVID relief funds. We spent $2 trillion on COVID relief. $2 trillion. You know what drives me crazy about this? Is basically a lot of this was just handing people checks. Here's $1,200. Thank you for being in COVID. Here's $1,200. And now that inflation has been driven up a commensurate amount, guess how much money we effectively lose? $30,000, $4,000, $5,000, depending on the household. Inflation hits much harder on the back end than that stimulus check could ever have helped us in the front end. And it drives me crazy. Why are we just spending so much money for the present at the expense of the future? Do you know that if the deficit right now, which is at $31-ish trillion, if it continues at this rate for another 10 years, the increase that we are adding to it every single year, if it continues at this rate for another 10 years, or if the percentage points that we pay on interest on that debt increase by 2 percentage points, then literally every single penny that the government earns on every ounce of revenue, every piece of taxes, every piece of tariff, anything that they earn will just go to paying the interest alone. That is how bad it has gotten. And we're not far from that day. We are not far from that day. We have got to figure out a way where if we make X and we spend Y, that Y needs to be less than X. It needs to be less than X so that we have an extra amount left over in case something goes wrong, in case we get walloped by a hurricane or a war happens or something like that. We need to have an in-case fund, and that in-case fund needs to be invested, and it needs to be invested in some interest-bearing account that will make us money, that will help relieve our financial obligations in the future. I do not understand why we are not treating the government's income like a business, like a household income, because anybody else can see that you have got to spend less than you make. guys, I think this is pretty simple. I do not understand why we are just spending so needlessly. Why we are the federal government, especially past 2 years, Biden administration has just been throwing money away, just like literally lighting it on fire. We gotta do better. We got to do better, guys. Let me know what you think below. Let me know what your comments are, because I've seen, now I'm not going to say everything the Bidens have spent on has been bad. There's been one or two glimmers of hope. Like, I'm pretty happy with the CHIPS Act. Pretty happy, but it's one of those things where it's like, after you've already spent $1 million over what you're supposed to spend, if you spent whatever, I think our deficit was at $1.8 trillion or something like that. After you hit that point, then and you want to spend more, at that point it's too late. You're already at the place where you've already hit that breaking point. So let me know what you think, guys, and we'll come back to this on Couch Talk.